Welcome to this episode of The Inner Estate with your host, Bridget Stewart, and a special guest today, Janet Brinck from Virginia, an amazing businesswoman and leader. Janet, thank you for being our guest.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. Excited for your podcast too.
And I'm excited to have you as a guest. You and I have some similar paths. I've been in our chosen industry where we specialize for almost 27 years. And I think that you are right around 27. Yeah, you and I both. We're both in our 26th year, heading up to the 27th. So I know that we are going to have a lot to share with people because today we are going to dive in to overcoming obstacles or challenges, driving over the speed bumps of life and still building the life that you desire and striving to be the person you want to be, right? Like really living life and just overcoming things. So I just want you to be able to share with everyone, what does that mean to you? Where would you start with this topic?
It's so funny. I heard you say speed bumps of life, and I'm like, mine are more like potholes or like not even potholes. Like what is
A
it?
collapsed bridge.
You're right. Like the bridge fell out several times. I never really even started with the bridge. So yeah, I feel like, there are people that I know in the world that, they just seem to have it, like a normal life. I was talking to my daughter about it. Like people have normal lives, and I just feel like that was just not me. So, I started out in a really unstable home. I didn't have that picturesque upbringing. There was trauma and drama and just chaos. And so, I ended up kind of surviving and went to college, was going to be a attorney and, ended up getting my real estate license. That's a whole other thing. But, I got married. I had 4 babies. I really felt like, okay, I've got it figured out now.
Right.
I had a rough start, but, God said, here you go. I had
Yes.
beautiful kids and, I married the love of my life and had a great business. And then in 2013,
That is quite the encore. That's not what you were clapping for, saying, come on back out on stage and do one more song. $500,000 tax bill. Yeah.
yeah.
No.
And, what's interesting about it is at the time, I was still walking around life, in my office and being this real estate and top agent, and I still have it all together. Right.
Right. Yes.
It's funny how I have come to value authenticity and honesty and where we really are because of that, because it was such a learning lesson that,
Right.
when it's so interesting we're talking about overcoming adversity because after you walk through something.
Yeah, it is. And you and I both are survivors of the recession. Anyone listening, you're also a survivor of the recession, however you survived, right? And I can imagine, I was thinking about the timing of all of that. Being 2013, we were coming out of it, and yet many people in the real estate industry were still really incapacitated. And you're right. I mean, looking back on it, I feel you made the right choice in that moment. I understand now you feel that possibly you were being disingenuous. We really didn't have a choice then. We had no choice but to get up every day, work on our mindset, put on that suit we still had from 5 years ago, make it look as good as we could, take the Sharpie to our black patent leathers, rub them with Vaseline, like, because we had, we had to take care of our client. We had to be there because as much as what we were going through, all the consumers in America, in some ways, it was kind of worse for them because at least we know the industry, but they didn't. So we had to, those of us that were in it, that are passionate about helping clients, we didn't have a choice. We had to suit up. We had to get out there because we had to take care of people.
Yeah.
We had
Well,
to take care of
honestly,
them.
Bridget, for me, it was like, yeah, I had to take care of people, but I had to take care of my family. Like,
I
I
know.
wasn't going to eat.
And that's how we took care of our family. Right. Yeah, it was definitely a win-win. It
So
wasn't
talk
like pure
about
charity work, but we
learning.
had to be able to feed the 4 babies under 8, right? So, and all I'm saying there is, I get what you mean, and that being genuine to who you are is so critical in every day. And I would be gentle in your own self reflection on
Yeah.
that time in particular. That's all
Well,
I'm
and,
saying.
you know,
Unsolicited coaching, right there.
absolutely. Yeah, no, and you do. You gotta suit up and show up, right? Even when
Yeah.
you don't feel like it. And just, when people just saw me running around in my business suit, going to
Hmm.
appointments, that's what I had to do, but I don't think anyone knew what it took to muster that
To
up,
do
right? Like,
it.
that
No, they
was
did not. They
days
don't.
I had to get out of bed,
You and
right?
I didn't know. We know. Yeah, there was no, yeah. And the other thing that's cool, not to jump too far, ahead into things, but it's also a stroke of genius that upon reflection, you have taken a huge life lesson from it that you've now carried into where you are today, where you are thriving and touching so many people's lives. Because now you know that critical importance. You never want to have that feeling again. You never want to get dressed and feel as if you're not congruent with the reality of where you are. And so, how brilliant to pull that core value out of such a dark time, and now you live it every day and you're sharing it with your children.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah.
How does that show up for you?
I feel like it just took me much longer than it takes, I think, most people to really get the fact where people say, you're enough. I never even understood it. I'm like, what? And but for me, it was like even before that, I just on the outside, I was always trying to be my representative. Even if I was doing $3 million in production, you thought I was doing 5 million.
Right.
3 just wasn't enough. And if I was doing
Right.
5, you thought I was doing 7 to 10. Like, it was just crazy to me. And so it really I just got to a point where, again, like, take off the veil and just be
Yeah.
honest about where you're at and,
Right.
you know, surround yourself with people who will get you to the next level. But even the people I was in rooms with that could get me to the next level, like, I felt like I had to kind of embellish to earn my right to be in the room with them when, now
Right.
I look back and it's like, no,
You could totally
just
be in the room.
be where
Just
you are.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that answers the question or
It
where you.
does. And I wanna do a quick interjection here because I know not everyone knows you. You do have a very successful real estate team, predominantly it's based out of Northern Virginia, but you cover Maryland, DC, some parts of West Virginia, which is really cool to me. Yeah, and a little bit of West Virginia. Gotta throw that in for a little
Got
flavor, right? Flavor, West Virginia flavor. How is your team doing this year? How do you measure your success with your team? Family served, gross sales volume? Just give
So,
everyone an idea of where you are today versus 2013.
yeah, well, what's interesting about that is, in 2013, I went from being a solo agent, to building a team,
Mhm.
because when I was by myself and doing enough business to survive with 4 kids. I live in Northern Virginia, which is like the richest county in America, which is an awesome blessing when we're talking price point, but it's really expensive to
High
live.
cost of living, yes.
And, so when I was making enough money to survive and closing enough deals to survive with 4 kids, I was working every night and every weekend, and I couldn't do that anymore either. And so, I ended up joining Keller Williams. I will give a shout out to KW because I love
Mhm.
Keller Williams because I learned so much. I was there for 10 years and I learned
Right.
leverage. And you being a former MAPS coach, it was MAPS coaching and MREA and all the models anyway. But that experience forced me to embrace leverage, right? Because that's like the
Yes.
hardest thing for most agents
Oh,
is
yes.
I don't want to get, a buyer's agent because it's my hand they want to hold. It's my expertise. It's
Right, right.
my relationship. Well,
They
I
only
didn't have
want
a
me.
choice.
Right.
Like I really didn't. It just forced me to be like, okay. And so in 2013, when, my former business partner and I left to go to Keller Williams, we started this team and we ended up growing it to, I mean, we would have anywhere from 9 to 24 agents at one point and doing
Right.
$100 in volume and over 200 units and all that. And, now a year and a half ago, launched a new team. We are a super small SEAL team. I've got 3 agents and me and our COO, who is my business partner, and a director of operations who is a VA in the Philippines.
Nice.
And we are on track to do like 50 million.
Great.
And it's just kind of a well-oiled machine. And, we're just aligned in like heart and faith and values. And yeah, it's just I'm really happy. And of
And you're
course,
having fun. Your
I'm
team
having a lot of fun.
is having fun. Yes, they are living their passion, and you all are focused on client experience as well as the agent experience and the team. Yeah, so I just wanted everyone that hearing where you being in the Hyundai, 4 children under 8, feeling like you were not even being congruent with your own reality, and now you're thriving. So, of course, that means everything was perfect from A to Z, right? Just, oh, you just woke up and then it just was a easy ascent to perfection, correct? There were no obstacles in the way?
Yeah, no, no, it was awesome. Yeah, I
But
mean,
there were
I
some speed bumps, right?
speed
So
bumps and
let's fill that
craters in
in.
the earth that,
Yes.
yeah, it's never pretty for me. I don't know, maybe it is for other people, but,
No,
it's
it's
just
not.
it's always messy, and, like,
It's
even,
always messy.
having, like, my wonderful team and all of the and there are just things that we do so well, but it's always messy in the middle. I feel like I'm always in the middle, and we always say it's messy in the middle, and I'm like, "Am I ever not in the middle?" But, if I get to a point where everything is really well oiled and running on all cylinders, it probably means I'm not growing and not trying
Correct.
things. And so I'm bored and,
Yeah.
I operate best when I'm running around with my hair on fire. And, if I have 23 things to do, I'll get 19 done. If I have 3 things to do, I'll get nothing done. And so that's kind of the way that I operate. But yeah, I feel like, I was digging my way out for a long, long time in survival mode, but it really wasn't for me. It wasn't until I got really honest with where I was. And there's so much, there's not a podcast long enough, I don't think, but there's so much in that between, my ex-husband going to federal prison, and really just dealing with the emotion of that, with the kids with that, therapy, all of that. It was like a public thing, so I was dealing with, like, public,
Right.
eh,
Right.
just a disaster, and then trying to run a business, raise kids, and, fast forward a few years, I found myself in the middle of, like, full-blown alcoholism
Wow.
and was drinking my way through it, and finally had to, really look in the mirror and get honest with myself about that, and
Yeah.
so I'm in recovery. It's been the biggest blessing. Like all of the things in my life to date that I have seen as like the most tragic things have turned out to be the biggest blessings.
I mean, that had to be when you mentioned, craters, I believe that is a crater or, whichever analogy you want to use. Could you share when did you have the moment of realization? When did you have that inner voice that said, Janet, this is unsustainable? Can you share how you had the moment of realization that the alcohol was taking over running your life? Like, how did you have that moment of clarity? And then what was the first step you took to make it stop?
So for me, it was a very gradual thing. And, it's well, I'll back up. We can talk about this all day long. Like I've always like loved to drink in college. Like I was just like, it was so fun. I always liked it. But, I also knew that there were kind of rules around it. My dad was an alcoholic and he drank every single day. And so I was always like in my mind, like, okay, that's bad. Like drinking every day is bad. That's a rule. We're not going to do that. Um, and, drinking alone, nope, don't do that, right? And so, like, in my mind, I had all these things, um, and I was just always very cognizant of it, like, okay, that has a potential, speed bump, pitfall, whatever.
Mhm.
But then when my life came crashing down, it was like everything kinda went out the window, and everybody gave me a pass too. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
I
Right.
gave myself a pass, and everyone around me gave me a pass. If I was drinking a bottle of wine on a Tuesday, even my family was like, "Girl, ex-husband went to federal prison, you're raising 3 kids, you're holding on by a thread. If that's what you need to do, that's okay," and that's kind of the pass I gave to myself, and it was just a very dangerous, slippery slope
Yes.
to be on. And then, I just got to a point where even after I was putting my life together, it was just my solution. I just had a lot of stuff I hadn't dealt with from like my childhood, from, my life falling apart to a zillion things. And that was my coping mechanism. That's what I did to celebrate. That's what I did to,
Commiserate.
falling apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Or if you're by yourself, miserate. Is that a word?
right,
If there's
yeah, misery.
commiserate,
That's what I did to
misery.
misery on my couch, and so, my kids were I mean, your kids know.
Mhm.
And if I'm really honest, I mean, it was like I was always like, "Oh, well, they're in their rooms because they're teenagers." And
Mhm.
partially true, but it's also partially because like I was like on my 3rd glass of wine on a
Right.
Tuesday night, and they were like,
Right.
and so I just got to a point where I got honest.
Mhm.
And I was like, "You know what? It is what it is." It's like the movie, we actually watched that movie in the rehab I was in. But yeah, and I've worked really hard ever since, and, it's funny because when I share about this, people that don't understand, the recovery process and everything, it's like it turns out it had nothing to do with alcohol. Right? Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
I'm for people on audio, I'm making a Pikachu face.
Yeah.
What? No, I I know what you mean. I
Yeah,
know what you
had
mean.
nothing to do with alcohol. I don't drink because that is, it doesn't serve me, and I had to deal with some stuff, and I have to deal with stuff on a daily basis, without using that as a crutch, and it has just transformed my life, It has made me who I am,
Mhm.
and I wish that, you know I could just I lead with God, right? Like, my faith is my number 1, and so, it's like I can't even talk about success these days without talking about my faith and my
Your
God,
faith.
right? I just can't because that was the missing piece for me, 100%. It was like, what has changed? How do you have this success or that success? And I'm not saying I'm this whatever, but, it's all because I have just transitioned my focus to serving God and serving people, period.
It's really beautiful. Would you say that staying and by the way, kudos for going to that program. It sounds like from how you've shared it that you decided to go. So it does not sound like you were in a situation where other people were kind of shoving you into it. You actually chose to go. Did anyone resist? Did anyone tell you not to go? I'm just curious. Out of your inner circle, did anyone say, "Oh, you're over
No,
dramatizing"? Nope. Good. Good. So your circle was supportive,
people were surprised. Some
understanding,
people were
and they
surprised.
said, "You're gonna go."
Yeah. Like people from my
Right.
church, I think were like, what? But the
Mhm.
people who really knew were like, okay, you know, my
And
husband was like, oh, if that's what you think you need, he was even like, I mean, yeah, but no one was like, don't go.
what a blessing. You talked about blessings in the dark times, and for you to have that supportive encouragement from your inner circle and your family is extraordinary. And I'm assuming too that, everyone carried on, uh, I'll say fine without you. I'm sure
It
they missed
wasn't
you,
pretty. It wasn't
but
pretty,
they survived,
but you
right?
know what? My
They
my
did it.
is a saint and can manage this house like no
Yes.
other. He found
And
out,
actually, it probably made them appreciate you more when you came back.
hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. And so after you left the 28 days, what was the next what was the next path you chose to continue becoming the woman that you envisioned yourself and you desired to be? What was the next path?
Yeah, so for me, I'm in a recovery program, a 12-step program, which I poured myself into,
Mhm.
which was absolutely life-changing for me. I always say, like, I wish everyone had a reason to do a 12-step program. I am not
Yeah,
kidding,
right.
because it is a handbook for life. It's the handbook I never
Yeah,
got, that's
I've
saying,
heard that before.
yeah,
Yeah.
everything I needed to learn, I learned in kindergarten. Nope, not me. Everything I needed to learn for life, I learned in a 12-step program, and I am not kidding. And so I do that. I help other women, and I I worry most first and foremost about my relationship with God.
Mhm.
I serve him at a higher level, and it's made me a better business person. I just
Great.
showed up differently. Like, I mean, Bridget, I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm doing
Yes.
prayer meditation. I'm at my workout at 6. Like, it's like I'm just a different operate on a different plane, you know, playing field, and
How has this impacted all of the children in your life?
dealing with that. And then they had me who, that was my coping mechanism. And
Mhm.
so there was just, even though I was very present and I was making sure that dinner was on the table and bills
Mhm.
and all of that, like there was a part of me that just wasn't present.
Correct.
And there was a big part of me that wasn't dealing with things in a healthy way with them, and
Right.
relationships with every single one of them. My relationship is so much better.
Good.
And,
Including your steps.
and I will say, yes. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just funny because, like, parent, I've been a parent and I coach, right? We're both
Right,
coaches.
right.
And so much of my coaching and parenting comes from
From
my
this.
program.
Right.
It's amazing. And, I would you would have thought, I thought that, when I was considering like, oh my gosh, am I going to go away for 28 days? Am I going to let them in on this secret of how I feel? Cause I do feel like alcohol has taken over my life. And am I gonna be this person? And am I gonna be that honest? Because I'm their mom.
Right, right.
And I didn't want them to have to deal with this on top of dealing with their dad, and it was like, and again, best thing I could have done for them is for them to watch me go through that and overcome.
And overcome it. That's what is part of your history and story that you've written for yourself, and of course, you are chapters in each of the children's lives. You're significant, right? Maybe a whole book in the trilogy, right? So what's amazing is that you were willing to be vulnerable and you were willing to let people in. You went to that 28-day. You chose, I'm going to say, interwoven paths of leaning in on your faith and following the 12-step program. And I know from having friends and family along the journey that it is still every day. Like every day you are still embracing the change and living the change every day and making the choice every day, right? What an amazing model for them to see. So I want to go back to what you mentioned about you watched your dad and you were like, "Oh, he drinks every day. And sometimes he drinks by himself. Maybe you came home on a Saturday and he was, drinking at 3 o'clock or whatever it was. And you had these like rules in your head. And I have a feeling you probably were like, well, as long as I'm not doing it every day and not by myself and not that, then I'm okay. Right. So now let's take your children, all of them. Their story is, wow, when mom saw that this was out of control, she took whatever steps she needed to do to be able to reclaim her vitality, her health, and her ability to be a leader, a businesswoman, and a great mother. And then she did whatever she had to do for years to make sure she kept it. What an amazing, I hope that they are internalizing that gift you gave them.
Yeah. I mean, me too. Me too. I hope that that is what they see, right? I hope that's what they take with them.
And not saying, okay, you and I, we love people, right? So we talk to people all around the country all the time, every day. Sometimes my son is like, "I could never do what you do." Right? With your children, they're going to learn, they're gonna live their lives, there's gonna be things that go sideways, they're gonna have some potholes and craters, the stuff we were saying, right? And yet, I believe you have given them that solid lighthouse, so if things do truly go sideways for them, I hope that inner voice, instead of gauging, "Well, I'm okay because it's not every day," or "I'm okay because it's not by myself," they're gonna say, like, "Wait a minute, it's not okay. What'd mom do? She reached out, and she wasn't afraid to be." So what it that's I do hope that, and I believe it will. I believe that will show up for them. We never know the time, we never know the day or what the incidents will be. Am I allowed to say that I really hope whatever they face doesn't involve federal prison with anyone other than their father? Am I allowed to say that I
Yeah,
hope that doesn't happen?
me too.
When you said that you work with a lot of, especially other women that may be facing the same thing, want to make changes, how satisfying is that for you? I'm assuming that reinforces your strength and your commitment in your journey.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely does, right? Because we can best help the people that we used to be, right? So I or most impact the people that we used to be because so I have agents. I have women that are, recovering from alcoholism or trauma or, you name it. And then, even in my coaching, right, with agents, like that's one of the things that made me get really raw with where I've been in business because I just don't think that we are raw enough and we don't pull the curtain back
Right.
in its entirety
Yeah, I
um,
agree.
ever because of our egos. So I just it's so funny because I actually looked up when I was like, I think I might want to do a podcast. I was looking up and there's like a zillion behind the curtain, like the title of it.
Yes,
Because I was
yes,
like
right.
gonna do behind the curtain. I'm like, everybody's doing behind the curtain, so I'm not gonna do that. But that's important, right? Like that
It is.
i- it's so satisfying to me to be able to walk alongside people and help them get to the other side where I got to, right? And then it's just as important for me to have those people in my world that,
Yes,
on ahead of me, right? Because I
right.
we've all got blind spots. We've all got, our areas of opportunity,
Mhm.
opportunities for growth.
Yes, we do.
Um,
We all do.
yeah,
And we make the choice. We make the choice to live with it and die with it, or we make the choice to live and thrive and grow and create what we truly desire. And I believe that's what you're a great example of doing that. One other item. I love in the inner estate, which by the way, inner estate is it's not behind the curtain, but really it's about the real estate of our mind. It's the inner so it is in a way indirectly about let's get into what actually is happening in our brains to make things work. Because you and I both know it all starts in mindset and choices that we make for our own selves. We lead ourselves first. Um, the if someone out there is listening to this and they are struggling with any type of I don't know if this is the right word. I'm not an expert, so excuse me if I say the wrong words. But if they're struggling with an addiction or something that's happening every day, whether it be alcohol or cigarettes or addiction to computers, like if they're just struggling with it and they're just sitting there saying, "Yeah, that worked for her, but it wouldn't work for me," or they don't even know the very first step to take. So if anyone is still with us and they're in that spot, could you give them one action step to take? Like, what is one thing they could do today to start creating change in their life?
get honest. Get honest with yourself, right? Because it took me to get honest with myself first about where I actually was, and then get honest with someone else that you trust, right? Because we're only as sick as our secrets. And
We're
so,
only as sick as our secrets.
yeah, yeah. So,
That is beautiful in its simplicity and truth. I don't know if that's a quote from you. I haven't heard it before, and I love it. All right, we are say it one more time. We are only as sick as our secrets. Okay. So get real with yourself and then get real with someone else that you trust. And you could literally do that today. Get
Yeah.
honest with
You reach
yourself
out to me,
and get honest with someone good.
we'll drop everything. Oh,
So I wanna go back to the beginning. You mentioned that the really big surprise after a series of huge surprises was the $500,000 tax debt. I'm sure anyone listening who listened to the whole thing figures, oh, that's pretty much going to be all on her, whether or not you incurred it. But we know most of us that are adults in America realize that would be on you. Is it gone? How did you take care of that? How did you overcome that? Share.
so
Because
if
guess what? A bunch of people are in tax issues right now. So what did you do? How did you take care of it?
get honest,
Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm.
tell someone you trust. No.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, it was just like an ongoing so I'm actually getting ready to, like, be absolutely done, which is, like, insane,
Yay.
right? I know. But, it was a series of just, like, trying to dig myself out, but, 2013, I made more money than I had ever, but I was, like, in such a terrible situation,
Right.
trying to pay the back years that I didn't know were unpaid, so I was trying to catch up from '07, '08, '09 anyway.
Right.
Um,
Right.
it was just a snowball, right? And then there's, like, penalties and all this stuff, and so
Yeah.
I've gone through a zillion different, like, tax debt companies that I worked with
Right.
for years that I was paying on a monthly basis, and then I've worked with attorneys, I've tried to do my own offer and compromise, and then at one point, I was in a, like, cannot pay status. It was crazy, but, yeah, so,
Were
fast
you tried to
forward.
send the IRS money and they rejected it? Did
Well, I
that
don't
ever
think
happen to you?
did money.
Okay.
I never tried to send
But
them. I tried to send them "Will you put me on a payment plan?" And they won't. It's really insane, but I have through financial planners and a tax attorney that costs an ungodly amount of money. Yeah, it's all behind me pretty much. I just have this one balloon payment, I guess you'd call it.
yeah,
And I will actually be done, and I think I'm gonna have a celebration of.
I think you should have a celebration. I would love to come. Hopefully, mine will coincide with yours. I am still not by the way, not 500,000. You're number 1 in if we're gonna do a comparison of it, but, I had and believe it or not, mine are rooted in the recession. And there was again, boring story, but it was a similar series, although luckily I did find a tax attorney 4 or 5 years ago. It was right before COVID. So actually, yeah, a little over 5 years ago that nearly has it resolved. And she believes by the end of this year, we will have won several of the big fights and it's finally going to be resolved. And they'll know what that final compromise or balloon is or whatever. And then I'll be done too. Oh my gosh, can we have a joint celebration? Where do
Yeah,
we wanna go to Paris? What do we wanna
right,
do?
right. I'll leave it to us. I actually am serious, like, my celebration is buying my Airbnb because
Nice.
I've not been able people are always like, "You don't
Mhm,
have an investment portfolio?" I'm like,
mhm.
"No, I don't," because I've been dealing with this.
With
So, like,
this.
I have, like, sort of one
Yeah.
investment that is in my mom's name because anyway,
Right, right, right.
like, again, just being so transparent, it's like I
Yeah,
just like I've been stuck for a long time and,
yeah, and it's
even
gonna be unstuck.
I've got a successful business and I make
So I
money.
think we need to coordinate, did you ever see the movie The 40-Year-Old Virgin? Okay, you know the end scene where, Steve Carell and Catherine Keener, they're both in white outfits, and they've got, like, balloons and ribbon sticks, and they're singing through the
Oh,
park,
yeah.
singing Age of Aquarius. I'll come out to Virginia. We can get white flowy dresses. We need to sing
You go
Dawning
and
of
check
the Age
that
of
garage.
Aquarius.
You did that one video on
We
the
can go
garage.
to what is that, Echo Park? We'll find some beautiful park. We need to sing and have ribbon streamers and
Right.
sing the
Hey,
age.
it'll be
So, and
worth it.
I love the Who, and I love the song "I'm Free" from Tommy. So we can do two songs. We'll do "I'm Free," and we'll do "Age of Aquarius," and we will sing and dance. I mean,
I
yeah, it's
only
gonna be
think about
so glorious.
is that the one with Tom Cruise? Free? No. No.
No, That's,
That's
that is Tom Petty, that's Free
yeah.
Falling. No, it's, I'll send you the link, but you should look it up. So there's a video of The Who, I'm Free, and Roger Daltrey is running on a beach, and he's, like, running and doing cartwheels right in the edge of the ocean. If you ever want a feeling of freedom, just
I
play that.
need to see that.
I
Send it
put
to me.
that on loop, and I just watch it over and over, and it just my god, it makes you feel so good. Alright, so dance party in, Virginia or Maryland or wherever
Yeah,
we end
let's
up.
go.
Maybe we could do it right near the Jefferson Memorial. That would be very picturesque. Could you imagine? Anyway, alright, so not there. Well, you know what?
Or how do
Maybe hey, maybe it would be like reclaiming the spot with a new memory. There we go. Like, I'm climbing Mount Whitney in September, and that was one of the very last things that I did together with my former fiancé. He ended up,
how
deciding.
in September?
Yes, September 22nd. I'm gonna camp at the base portal of Whitney for 2 nights first to acclimatize because I no longer live in the mountains. I did the last time I climbed it. And then I'm going to, go up to trail camp, hit the summit the next morning, and then because I'm living life and I wanna spend time, I'm not trying to win a race, I'm gonna spend one more night on the mountain just so I can enjoy it and have a
Yeah.
glorious morning and then come
I
back
wanna
down.
do the, have you heard of the, I think it's 20929? Is that what it is? It's like 40929? Anyway.
All I can think of is Beverly Hills 90210.
Right.
I
No.
just gave my age away with that, if nothing else did.
It's where they climb the mountain, the 29029 is like the, feet, the elevation of Mount Everest. But you go to, like, Jackson Hole, whatever, and you climb a mountain enough
And
times
you
that
and you do a sum. I am gonna check that out today.
yeah, I wanna do that badly.
I could do that because 'cause I'm always out, climbing some mountain. So I love Whitney because it is the tallest mountain in the lower 48 contiguous, and it's absolutely beautiful. You can follow me on social media if you wanna see footage from it, but it's amazing. I will let you know the next mountain I'm planning. I think my next one's gonna be in Colorado, but I'll let you know when I'm going in case you wanna go. So I would say you and I, um, because although we focused primarily on your craters and potholes and collapsed bridges, I certainly have them as well.
I would love to you.
Oh, okay. So when you launch yours, I'd love to be a guest. I did share, I also have tax issues. And here's what's great. When people first meet you and I, and it's not that we're not being genuine, we just don't walk around wearing a button that says, I'm currently dealing with tax issues that are rooted from 10 years ago. Like we don't wear that badge. So people don't know when they meet us. And it's not that we're not being genuine. I believe, I know you pretty well. I think we generally will wake up in the morning grateful for another day on earth. And that whatever we face today, we're the best person to face it. And we're not facing it alone. And we're just going to do it, right? Like, I mean, we're just going to do it. So if you're out there, I don't care what you're facing. I don't care if you're getting divorced. I don't care if you have weird tax issues. I don't care if your taxes are perfect, but your credit's bad. I don't care if you got fired from a job you loved. I, I don't care if you're estranged from a significant family member, whether quote unquote justified or not, right? Whatever you're facing, Janet and I are telling you, you can reclaim joy. Grief, you could be facing unimaginable, unbearable grief. You may have had a significant or tragic loss. I'm not saying it's not devastating. I'm not saying it's not hard. But Janet and I can share with you there's life on the other side, and it's full of life. It's light, it's full of joy. You can overcome whatever you're facing today. If your eyes opened this morning, you can make a new life for yourself. Would you agree, Janet?
Yeah, keep going. Be honest. Get honest. Tell people where you are and keep going. Yeah, it gets better, but for me, it didn't get better till I got honest. And
Yeah.
that was about everything, just I petrified to tell people what was happening in my world with my ex-husband, telling people that I was struggling dealing with it and turning, to alcohol instead of being, everything. Just be honest, keep going.
All we can do is pray and be our best selves. You could just be your best self and be that best mother And I'm sure with your current husband that is such a blessing in your life, that he is also a blessing in your children's lives. So, just to reiterate, you have been it is so funny when I think about our backgrounds, both been in real estate, hardcore, full time since around 1998, and we both started in the same area. I started in Maryland, and you started in Virginia, right? I did move out west, and I once I did, I never went back.
Oh, I'm moving in a few years, so I'll be right behind you.
Oh,
I just
okay.
don't know where
I
yet.
wanna hear more about that. You're gonna have to come back as a guest again so we can find out about that and making decisions to make big moves. We both were with Keller Williams for a long time. So I was RE/MAX 9.5 years. I was at Keller Williams from 2008 until, 2025. So we both were at KW for a long time and KW team leaders. So in
Yeah.
terms of just really being women that we just were gonna make it happen, we survived the recession, and we're gonna keep growing and thriving, which I believe we've done. I have so enjoyed connecting with you, and I appreciate your being vulnerable and honest. I believe that your message is going to touch people's lives you and I may never even know about. I really hope that you'll come back again, Janet, as a guest. If anyone wants to reach out, what's the name of your team?
Aligned Real Estate Group.
Aligned Real Estate Group, and you're currently practicing with Real Broker, and you're covering again Virginia, Maryland, DC, and little parts of West Virginia for flavor. Thank you. So I hope that you will come back as a guest, and I hope you listeners will join me again on another episode of The Inner Estate. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bridget.